Hello, hello, and welcome. I'm Kenny. I'm the founder of STR Insights. I'm super excited to have everyone on who's listening, and also since we're sending out this recording, um, thank you for watching. I Over the past couple weeks, I've been thinking about ways that I've seen different users use STR Insights for their different STR real estate strategies. And so over the next couple weeks, I'm going to be talking to experts in the industry who are familiar with the tool and also um, have experience using the tool in unique ways to help them kind of get ahead of the competition. Since STR Insights has been out for a couple of weeks now, we've seen some very unique strategies that I haven't even thought of using the tool. And so we're going to start this week with the BRRRR strategy. So BRRRR is buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat. For those of you who don't know what BRRRR means, and it's a very unique strategy. We see it with long-term rentals, but it's very effective with short-term rentals. And I brought on an expert in the industry, Patryk. I'm going to introduce him first. And then I'm going to attempt to say his last name, and then he can correct me. So it's like Patryk Swietek or something like that, Swietek or something. Anyway, Patryk and I have known each other for several months now. And he's a great guy. I've seen him at a couple conferences, and I recently saw a couple of his posts about him doing STR BRRRRs. And I'm going to share with you what he recently did at a couple of his properties, and then we'll actually go into how he uses STR Insights to find markets to BRRRR in, and talk about that. So to give you guys an introduction about Patryk, so Patryk is a serial entrepreneur. He's a real estate investor and an educator. That's a lot. He started 5 businesses by the age of 25. And he's constantly looking for ways to get back through the community of. So he's got a Facebook group and his community called STR Nation. So make sure you go check that out. And he also teaches people how to become financially free through real estate investing. And BRRRRing is like his thing. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Patryk in. Hey, Patryk. Let me see. There you go.
Hey, how's it going, Ken?
Good.
Thanks for having me. That was that was a good attempt at my last name, so I had a good laugh out of that.
Yeah, I know. I saw you laughing. I was like, oh no, I should have asked.
No,
You never think of it beforehand. But okay, so let's settle this. How do you say your last name?
Well, I just tell people the traditional way to say it is Swietek. But if you want to say in Polish, it's Patryk Swietek, and it's like nobody gets it. So you're totally fine.
Okay. All right. So what do we go with? Swietek?
Yeah, just Swietek.
Okay.
That's
all
awesome.
Right. Well, thanks, Patryk, for joining us. I first wanted to kind of show some folks your recent Facebook post. I just so everyone listening, I'm kind of I'm going to be putting him on the spot a little bit. I tried to prepare him beforehand, but I like to put people on the spot, not to like grill you or anything, Patryk, but just throw some of your work up so people can see what you're doing. And so I'm going to share my screen with everybody. Let me see if I can pull this off successfully. Let's see, share. Okay. Yeah, I'm just going to share this screen. All right. Pull this up. All right. 1 second. Okay. All right. So hopefully everybody can see this. So this is Patryk, one of your properties in Joshua Tree that I just saw on Facebook, and I was amazed. So I'm going to float through the pictures real quick so everybody can kind of see the before and after. I like how you had the before and the post of the after. I'm assuming this wasn't a short-term rental before, right?
Oh, no. It was actually a rental. It was in the boonies of Joshua Tree, and apparently the renters they did some funky stuff in that place. It was it was a mess. I mean, you'll see in the pictures following this, but it was,
Yeah.
yeah, all sorts of stuff.
Wow. That is interesting. Wow. That's great. I do like the mushroom backtrack wallpaper there.
Well, I just want to say something about this market. That is my demographic, to be fair, like people going in the middle of nowhere and tripping on whatever drugs they want. So shrooms tends to be a popular option there. I just tailor it to what the people want.
That's very interesting. That's really unique. I'll probably ask you a couple questions about that later, especially in other markets, because Joshua Tree is, we do see a lot of unique things there. But wow, like great work. That's awesome. So, how did you get into doing these doing bursts? Like, how did you find this strategy? And then how did you bring it into STRs? Like, how did you figure that out?
Yeah. So to start things off, I actually got my first property through the MLS, right? And
Okay.
it was when everyone else was getting them. It was pretty easy to find, 30% plus cash on cash return properties, and it was in the Smoky Mountains. And after I got that one, I decided, well, I want to get another one. I don't have the capital to put it down on something like that. I'm going to have to find a way to scale. So I did it through partnerships. And I met my first partner, Josh Rudin. He's an amazing guy. Met him at a gathering. It was a mutual friend. And he was doing flips. And he wanted to get into Airbnbs. So pretty much kind of worked itself out where he wanted to get Airbnbs. I wanted to partner and scale. And you couldn't really find deals in the MLS that are doing 30% cash on cash because everyone was flooding into short-term rentals. And if you did, especially in the Smokies, it was going to get outbid and it was going to go way over asking. So we got to get creative, right? And so Josh Rudin has been flipping for 10 years. He's been on shows like Selling Sunset, HGTV, like very well talented person, 29 years old. So young is like me, has the same energy, has the same vision. And we really just clicked. And he pretty much told me, you know what? Let's find a deal that is undervalued, right? Because it needs some fixing up. And let's fix it up, pull out the money from that property as a BRRRR, and then rent it on Airbnb, right? So I thought it was an interesting concept. The cool thing with him is he actually has a really good lender relationship that allowed him to put only 10% down on purchase and repair. So that made it even more enticing.
Yeah.
And 7% interest rate, which is great for hard money. So it was all cash deal. We bought this property, and something.
Sorry to interject here because like that perks my ears up. Is that still a thing, or has it changed recently with the rate hikes?
What's funny is, and I might need to be corrected because I haven't bought in a while, but last time I spoke to him like 2 months ago, our lender basically said that they still give that rate to us. They're constraining the capital, but we still get that rate, which is great.
And is it still at 10% down, or 10% you need to put down on it, or they do 15, or have they raised that?
No, 10% down. So
That's awesome.
90% LTV. So you're pretty much getting a vacation loan. What's up?
Yeah. I need to get his number from you.
I'll give it to you after this call. Intro you.
Yeah.
Anybody else that wants to get intro, just follow me on social media or something and just message me. It's pretty easy. But anyways, did that and then 0.75 points. So really low because he's done a lot of deals. And so I'm thinking to myself, okay, I can put 10% down on a vacation home loan, but then you can only do one. With these, you can do as many as you want. So we went out and we bought 4 properties.
Wow.
And 3 of them are live now. 1 we're still working on. That one will be a full BRRRR, which is amazing.
Where are they located?
All in Joshua Tree. So we have
okay.
The reason we chose Joshua Tree was because he already had the infrastructure for contractors in the area, and it was just an easy way to just, you know, pretty much have all the connections, everybody that we need, and it was just a plug and play, right? So that's kind of why we chose this market.
Okay, so you're now, so you've got, you said 4, some current, some have already finished, completed there. Where are you looking next?
Yeah. So um so this is the thing. So right when so here's the pain point. We are getting great cash on cash in the Joshua Tree market because we're doing BRRRR. A lot of people that are buying turnkey may or may not get the same thing. So there's diminishing returns in some ways, depending on how you strategize. We're still buying in the area, but the regulations has forced us to look elsewhere. So all these regulations started coming in with, you can only own 2 under your name in Joshua Tree or in San Bernardino County, and all these different things where they're capping in different towns. And it's funny because I saw STR Insights the day, like pretty much within the same month, when we were thinking, okay, we probably have to go to a different market. And there, lo and behold, in Nashville, Kenny goes on stage and shows me the statistics of finding something on market that gets the cash on cash returns that we love and see all the time, well, saw before. And I was like, yes, I need to talk to Kenny. I literally approached you and I said, Kenny, you have an awesome presentation. I love what you're doing, and sign me up for this shit. Like now, you know? So, but yeah, so it's been great. To answer your question, we're looking in a few places through STR Insights, and I'm not just saying that because, you know, you put me on the show and whatnot. No, it literally helped us define where we're going moving forward. Perfect. And we're looking at secondary markets, right? You know, the urban markets, the markets that are near the big cities, but not the big cities, are going to be developing over time. Those are not the Smokies, not Destin, the surrounding areas, right? So it's kind of where we're at.
I like that a lot. That's really interesting. Okay, so I do want to, I want to go to the tool now. And because I think a lot of people are interested in burring. It does take, there's a lot that goes involved. Obviously, you know, you talked about, you know, working with contractors, and we've all done remodels before. We've all, you know, at least done something like that where it's kind of a struggle. I don't really want to address that side of it. I want to address more of the finding the opportunity. So I want to pull up STR Insights, and I want to pull up the dashboard, and I want you to walk me through. You can do it on a high level. This is the putting you on the kind of the spot thing, but how did you use the tool? We don't have to look at the markets you're in, but using the tool and pointing out certain things that catch your eye. Maybe it's just the ROI, maybe it's the regulation because we just added that feature. But just go through an example so that people can see, you know, an advanced user using the tool and can potentially replicate that to find opportunity. Does that sound good?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. All right, perfect. So I'm going to share my screen again. Okay, share. And if people have questions, please put them in the you know, just comment, whether on YouTube or Facebook, put them in the chat, and we'll definitely go through them. Okay, so I'm in the dashboard. You know, I haven't sorted by anything. There's no filters except market sizes. So run me through kind of on a high level. What's your approach here? What are you looking for? Where do you start out? Go.
Yeah. Okay. So first things first, definitely already preset, which is awesome. We don't look into small markets.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. Just explain why you don't look in small markets.
Yeah. So for us, I mean, good for people that do. They want to outcompete everybody else in those markets, but we don't specifically because medium and large markets, we need to have that, especially because we want multiple exit strategies with BRRRR, right? We want to be able to sell it as a residential family property that somebody's going to live in, as well as a long-term rent and as long as short-term rent. So all three. So then it's more secure in case market twist or whatever. So in small markets, we're assuming that in a lot of small markets, there's really not that volume that we need to really being able to offboard a property like that quickly enough if we need to. So we need medium and large. And that's like the first thing. Second thing that we look at is obviously going to be cash on cash. So we pretty much go and we start. The ROI is a good indicator of what the cash on cash is going to be. So if it's gross ROI is over 15%, 15, 20, you're, with 20% down, you're probably going to get a cash on cash of 30%, which is what we look for. So that's good there. We like to look in markets. I don't know. I like to look at where geographically the market is. And let me explain the number one criteria just before we even dive deeper into this tool. The number one criteria for me is going to be needs to be within a driving distance of a market that is bigger. And the reason I say that is because contractors make or break your deal every single time. And so if you don't have the volume of contractors, you're not going to be able to do an effective BRRRR. And that's just hands down. You can ask anybody that does rehabs. It's the most important thing. You can lose hundreds and thousands of dollars, or you can make hundreds and thousands of dollars by make or break based on the contracts that you have. And we want to be able to have a big pool of contractors or within driving distance, at least 30 to 45 minutes or so of that market.
Gotcha.
So that's one thing. So we would look in, and usually we like to pull up more than 2 bedrooms, usually because one or two, studio or 1 bedrooms tend to be a lot. There's less value add that you can add, right? Like when you're getting to like the 2 to 5 bedroom range, which you can actually filter on STR Insights, as Kenny's doing right now. The more bedrooms, the better. Sometimes we'll do 3+. It just depends. And just because the more bedrooms, the more square footage we're assuming, and the more we can actually play around with adding bedrooms or doing other value add things that can sleep more heads or do that kind of thing, right? So that's kind of what we do there. Where do you guys have, because I honestly haven't used a tool with the regulations. Can we maybe pull that up, because this will be interesting. Regulation amount. Perfect. Regulations are so important. And not only when it comes to short-term rentals, but when it comes to building codes. So when you're doing a BRRRR, there's a lot. You need to make sure that you don't have insane amounts of regulation. So let's get rid of the heavy. So that's a new feature for me, actually, which is awesome that you guys have this. So that right now, what we used to do with regulation, looked into states that tend to lean politically. We just seen that blue states tend to be more STR unfriendly and red states tend to be more STR friendly. So we just use that benchmark. But this is probably a lot better. The reason is because actually one of our flips or one of our BRRRRs, we ran into a lot of issues with zoning and all that and building code. And what happened was we had to go through not only the Airbnb code, like what we need for, making sure that this is an Airbnb ready property, but also code on building. They're not going to give you the STR permit unless you have all the building code, and that delays things another 2-3 months, and the holding costs and all this. And you have to make sure that it's just a pain in the butt. Like, you just need to make sure to have moderate to light regulations. So let's scroll down. I definitely like looking at areas with, as you can see on the top, on the far right, there's the amount of listings that are there. That usually tells me the volume. So I like to make sure that there's a big enough volume. Like Kentucky, no offense, 5 active listings is not going to do it for us, because we want to make sure.
So sorry, I have the bedroom count pulled up, the average.
Gotcha. I didn't see that.
Yeah. So there's there's 63 2 bedrooms and only 5 4 bedrooms. So does that?
Got it.
with that being said, though, I mean, that kind of brings up an important point that someone might have. It's like, okay, for you looking at this, let's take Stanton here. And I could isolate Stanton too by just searching it here in the city, but we'll say Stanton, Kentucky. The 2 and the 4 bedroom pop up here. So that might be a good market. I don't know where the heck that is. And I know Tony's listening on and she's like, I know where it is, but she's our realtor for Kentucky. But like for you as someone who BRRRRs, let's assume it's outside of like Louis. Oh man, I never say it right. I say Louisville and they're like Louisville. So anybody from that area is probably like, yeah, you say it right. Like they'll correct you too. But you know, so looking at this, I mean, does that stand out to you in this data? So there's only 5 4 bedrooms, and then they have an ROI of 37%, and there's 63 2 bedrooms has an ROI of 25%. Like, does that influence or would pique your interest at all?
Yes. And let me explain why. So people might say, well, there's more competition, there's more of this. But when you get into BRRRR for short-term rentals, what happens is, and this is a little secret / don't tell my lender, but we use the repair money. We usually inflate the repair a little bit, and we save a lot of money through materials and different things. And we use that extra money on furniture. And but the only way that we can do that and actually justify that repair value, that high of a repair value, is if you have enough properties in that area that you can comp for that higher comp. And so Airbnbs tend to have higher comps than traditional rentals or traditional properties. So the higher, so you need to have a lot of Airbnbs that, because when they sell on the market, the Airbnb ready properties, they tend to appraise higher, which helps you appraise yours at a higher rate, so the more Airbnbs, the better, is what I'm trying to say. Because the more Airbnbs, the higher the appraisals, because Airbnbs people are willing to pay more for an Airbnb and willing to pay cash out of hand and get those higher appraisals comps on the market, which we utilize all the time. So we need a lot of, so that's why I love the fact that it filters by bedroom count, is because you could say 2 bedrooms in this market, there's 63 different comps that I can compare myself to and make sure that I get that high appraisal, so then I can actually do an effective BRRRR.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's a very unique strategy, especially for BRRRR. Like that's a different mindset too, because you know, for someone like me, if I'm trying to buy a property that's turnkey, I'm looking at that and saying, hey, look, the 4 bedrooms have a higher ROI. There's less competition. I should be targeting 4 bedrooms, but I'm not BRRRRing. I'm trying to find a property that's turnkey. And so the mindset shifts when you're doing a BRRRR. So I think that's very interesting. I wanted to take us a little bit deeper into the tool, just to kind of a couple more questions, just to respect some time. But so I clicked into Stanton, Kentucky, and it looks like it's, I don't really know. I'm not a great judge of driving distance, but maybe an hour and a half outside of Lexington, which is decent. So I'm assuming, you could find contractors. Once again, I don't know this market. I don't know anything about it. And if you are interested in this market, you need to talk to this lady right here. She knows everything about Kentucky real estate. And you can just go into STR Insights and actually click on her information and give her a call or send her an email, but she will help you. She is the GOAT of Kentucky. But here we are in this area. It's got very little to none regulation. And I'm going to pull up some 2 bedrooms. So here are the 2 bedrooms, the 50th percentile and greater. So Patryk, you're in this. How do you start looking at properties first on the MLS that you can BRRRR? Or do you look at this information first, this data of the individual properties and where they're performing? Like, what's your next step now that you're potentially interested in this market and targeting 2 bedrooms? What do you do now?
Yes. I would, first of all, I would look where I like this map because I would look where the cluster of all the Airbnbs are. So I know that's where the high demand market is. People might say, well, there's more competition there. Well, I don't care because I need the comps. And on top of that,
Mm.
I also I think I can compete with them a lot better as a BRRRR because my cost basis is a lot lower than theirs. So unless they got it way before, which great, but that's one thing. So I look at that area. I'm like, okay, great. That area is where to go. So I go to Zillow and then I do the map feature that allows you to, pretty much circle around the area that I want the properties to show. And I just make a search function for it. So whenever a new property comes that matches my criteria, 2-bedroom within this search radius that I set, and it comes on the market, and I just have multiple saved searches for each specific market. And every time that it hits the market, I analyze that deal. So let's say it hits the market, or I'm analyzing this and I see something I like, right? I plug it into 3 different data sources, but STR Insights is one of them. So let's plug that property in and see what STR Insights says for that property area.
Gotcha. Okay. And so, all right. So you basically you find like, so you would target, let's a good example is probably this area right here. So you
Right.
circle that on Zillow, you'd look for the 2-bedroom properties in that area. And then, so STR Insights doesn't have an address, like a calculator yet, but you can't look at the comps nearby. So do you use the comps to guide your decision in terms of
Yes.
determining potential revenue for that property?
100%, man. This is another data source that I can use. I 100% grab those numbers, and then I aggregate like the average of those, right? So depending on the area that it's in, right? And obviously you have to like click in. So for BRRRRs, especially with BRRRRs, this is actually a great market research because the link is tagged there. So you could see, okay, well, this is 49 and everything else is 30,000. Why is that? Right? What are they doing right? And so you can actually go in there and see, oh, maybe the view's really good, or maybe the hot tub or the pool. And then you start understanding what features and things you want to spend your money on, especially with the repair money that you have. I buy hot tubs with the repair money. You know what I mean? So like, I always look at that to see what we really should focus on, and really what matters in this market. A fire pit, look at that, and if that had the higher daily or nightly rate, then I knew that there's some amenities or something about it, maybe the size or the look or whatever, that is generating the higher revenue, right? So this is where I would do research like that.
Gotcha. Okay, and that makes sense. And so all right. Cool. And then yeah, so once you've determined your revenue, that's kind of really it in terms of STR Insights. But let's assume, so with your experience with BRRRRs, especially STR BRRRRs, because the lenders know you're going to STR them, right? Or do you tell them long-term rental, or what do you tell them?
We tell them that we have multiple exit strategies. It could be a flip, it could be Airbnb ready flip, it could be a residential flip, it could be there's so many exits, which I love, but it doesn't really matter too much until you get into the refi stages where you're trying to get a refi for your hard money bridge loans. So that's usually when they start asking the questions. Okay, are you Airbnb-ing this? Are you, because then that matters where your LTV and your rates are.
That's interesting. So when you refinance, and we're going a little bit beyond STR Insights here, and that's totally fine. I just want like people who are new to this strategy to understand. So when you refinance and you've been STRing it, do you have to have a certain amount of time of data, like certain months or years of STR data, for them to use that as, revenue for the refinance?
So the nice thing here is they usually, well, it depends on the lender, right? So some lenders, if they know you're Airbnb-ing it, they will look at and say, hey, you can only do 70% LTV at this rate, because we're actually doing that right now. So that's interesting that you bring that up. So, and I'll give a tip and trick, but 70% LTV is not the best, and usually they use revenues from Airbnb, like AirDNA or something like that. They'll use some platform like that to get those numbers. And as you may know, like that's really not always the most accurate way to go. And so one cool tip that I want to offer everybody on here. And I learned this through going to meetups and conferences, which is why I always tell people to always go and meet other investors that are doing what you're doing. TJ Titiani actually gave me this advice. He said, you know what? When you refi, just put a separate entity as the renter. So now it's a long-term rent. And then you're doing arbitrage on top of that with your management company. And I was like, this is amazing. And then you can secure 75, 80, well, not 80, but 75% LTV, which makes a big difference, and better rates sometimes. So who knows? I mean, I think that is the way to go. And that's how to get around that with traditional lenders, just doing that.
Great. Okay, I want to hit some questions here because we had folks with questions. So when you're doing a BRRRR, I think this is a really good one. When you're doing a BRRRR, would you consider adding bedrooms to match the ideal bedroom count in STR Insight, or just based on the data? So if it was a 2-bedroom property and you're like, hey, I could add in a bedroom, 3 bedrooms, more heads and beds, going to make some more revenue. Do you consider that? Or do you just say 2-bedroom, I'm sticking with that and doing that? What's your thought process there?
Yeah, definitely. I would definitely consider more bedrooms because your appraisal is going to be a lot higher. And that's part of the reason why we like being in pretty much less regulated markets, because some markets will require you to go through a whole permitting process for that, and it's really hefty. But if I can convert the garage is an underutilized space, you can make that into a game room or a bedroom. But a lot of times people don't do that because, well, traditional rentals, you can't really do that because you need the garage because that adds value to it. But in a short-term rental, you don't need a garage. Especially when you have a driveway. So why not convert it? And that's what we do in a lot of our rentals. So things like that, right? So yeah, I would 100% consider it. I would just go back and look into STR Insights and see, does 3 bedrooms actually justify the cost of adding that 3rd bedroom? And most times it does, So, but something to consider. Another thing is you can actually use 3-bedroom comps for a 2-bedroom. Or vice versa. So if you're a 3-bedroom and you can use a 2-bedroom comp. So when we saw Kentucky, we can actually make it into, if I can make it into a 3-bedroom, I can use a 2-bedroom comp if it's higher and it's Airbnb ready and nicer. And that's sort of what we do with our, strategy.
Sure.
So yeah.
Okay.
Long story short, yes.
Great. I love that. I do. So and one other question we got, was how are you getting the refinance to be based on the rental income instead of the comps in the area? And does it have to be zoned commercial?
Yeah. So there are different, I'm not a lender, but there are other loan I'm sure lenders can pretty much chime in on this, but there are different products where some based off of it's a full doc. So they go into all your mortgages and everything, or you could do an alt doc, which is more it's all lending terms. You just got to talk to your lender and get the best option. But there are options for using future revenues, like DSCR loans and things like that use future revenues to determine what kind of rate they give you and what kind of LTV and appraisal and all that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yep. So Matthew's commenting in Matthew is one of our brokers as well, who
Nice.
realtor brokers who understands.
Is he in Michigan?
Yeah, he's in Michigan. Yep, the one and only Matt.
That's my boy Matt. That's my boy Matt. Shout out to Matt.
Yeah, he is he's the man. He's the goat of Michigan. So if people listening are looking for a property in Michigan, you need to talk to Matthew. He knows.
We'll get to that soon. At least if we ask those questions that you sent me, unless you surprise me and ask me different questions. But I will.
I don't know. I've kind of been letting it flow, but
yeah.
I mean, so okay. I'll ask one last question here. So sorry. Someone asked. This is a good relevant question. What we were just talking about. So I'll wait on my question. But they just asked, once you identify the property, how do you underwrite to make sure the numbers pencil in?
So with BRRRRs, it essentially you're gonna have to first find the ARV, and when I find the ARV, that's for the people that don't know, after repair value. And YouTube University is the best way to do it, honestly. But pretty much you take the ARV, find something that looks like what you want it to make it. So like, for instance, if you see an Airbnb ready property that's sold on the market within 3-6 months, or let's say 3 months, especially in this market, no later than that. And then it's like Airbnb ready and has fire pit and every pool and everything that you're going to add. Then say, okay, well, great. I can do this and I can pretty much get this ARV. So now you backtrack. Okay, great. How much is the repair value or repair money going to be? How much is, now you add on furniture. How much furniture? How much, other things, right? I use Host GPO, so my furniture's, shout out to Host GPO. 30, or it depends, 30 to 70% off, depending on what it is. And so I use their West Elm packages, and I get a free designer. It's an awesome program. So I do that with all my properties. So things like that, you just like incorporate all those costs and essentially come up to a solution. Like, okay, well, I need to get this property at X value. And so then you offer up, especially if it's on MLS, you can say, hey, I'll give you 270. All cash. Take it or leave it. Let's go. That's kind of how you do it. So yeah.
Okay. Long story cool. No. Yeah, thanks for that. That's super helpful. I didn't know that Host GPO did the free designer. So no, that's helpful. Okay, so one last question from me, unless somebody else put something in the chat. But I get this question a lot myself. So everybody wants to know. I want to know, Patryk, what markets are you looking into today? Maybe if you don't want to share the exact markets, what regions are you? Give us a little bit of where you're looking today.
Great. So I actually use STR Insights. I'm not going to give the direct market because I'm actually looking to put offers in right now. But I am looking in. I am looking in Michigan.
What? Awesome.
So funny thing is, I met Matt at the last networking event in Houston. Kenny was there as well. And Matt was looking in California to offset the slow winter time in Michigan. And I was looking in Michigan to offset my slow summertime in the desert. Nobody wants to go to the desert in the summer. So we kind of met and it was like, dude, is this guy my brother or something? Like, we just vibed. And I was like, dude, I got to go to Michigan. I actually booked a flight, came to Michigan, did the whole tour along, Michigan and different markets. I just came back yesterday, actually. And I have a few deals that I'm looking at where it's insane. Because these are secondary markets. Keep that in mind, right? And these are markets that I'm familiar with because I grew up in Chicago. So I knew of those markets, but I didn't really think about it until I saw it in STR Insights. And I was like, like, this is great. Like, wow, why am I not here? Like, what's going on? And the awesome thing here is you're not competing against, there's so many people that are doing Airbnbs in Joshua Tree. If I take that, like those properties, and that skill set and put it in Michigan, like it's game time. Like, there's nobody that can compete. I'm going to be the highest grossing property because these are secondary markets that people don't know about, and it's unreal the cash on cash returns you can get. And I'm running these numbers, and it's like I ran this number on a $500,000 acquisition. I could be making anywhere from $120,000 to $150,000 in gross. And that doesn't even incorporate all of the additional, because it's Michigan, so it's a lot less heavily regulated. So there's 7 acres of land I can use to develop. Oh man, baby, give me that. That's the gravy. That's the gravy, So I'm all about that. And so I actually went to Michigan recently, which is funny that I'm doing this right now. And I'm looking in different areas. I'm looking in. I'll name a few other ones. Maggie Valley, Henderson. Those are surrounding areas from Asheville. North
Carolina. Okay. All right.
Yep. Western North Carolina. And I know Bill Faye's going to kill me for this because he's trying to look there too. But yeah, I'm doing that too. And I have a few other markets. I mean, it's all based on data. Like AirDNA is not. I have AirDNA for the whole country, and it doesn't give quite enough information about which market to get into, unless I want to be spending hours upon hours searching every single little market. So that's why I love STR Insights, because it's not only trying to kill AirDNA, but at the same time,
you're getting me in trouble, man. Like looking out the window,
kill AirDNA.
Take me out. Yeah.
They're never going to sponsor me ever again. I swear to God, they're going to be like, yeah, screw this kid. But I use you guys, and I pay a lot of money for it. So take my business. Pretty much, it's too much work. So I only use AirDNA as a secondary source of data, so I can verify different things. And it's useful for that. But everything is on STR Insights. I mean, so I'm blessed. I'm thankful for Kenny, you putting this tool together for us. It really, really is transformative, honestly. So yeah, that's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, no, I like that. And that's what we want. We want everybody to say that pretty much. But what I really like there, when I tell people too, is the same thing. Like, look, we can help you find the right markets, and we can even help you look at revenue with comparable properties. But use other data sources to verify. And you don't need to buy the whole country with the other data sources. You can purchase the individual market to verify once you find that. But if you're going to make, a $500,000 or $1 million investment, buy the different data sources and make sure, mitigate that risk by buying that data and use data to do that. So I really like that you said that. And because I do the same thing too. I'm like, yes, I have a lot of data, and I believe in our data, but if I'm about to spend $500,000, I'm like, well, I better be darn sure. So I'm always checking all sources possible. So I like that. Okay, cool. So I appreciate it. I mean, there's a lot of other things that we could dive in here, but
can I say one more thing? STR Insights, for me personally, has not only been for single family. I'm also investing in hotels, and that's how I find markets for hotels. So,
oh wow, there's a whole nother conversation right there.
I won't open it up, but I will say that my business partner for STR Nation, Stephanie, she's under contract for a property in Maggie Valley, and that is an outskirt of Asheville. Asheville's already developed, but Maggie Valley, and it's like she got 21 units for, hopefully she doesn't kill me for this, but 1.1 mil.
Yeah,
it sounds like a bad deal. I mean, that's like 21 Airbnbs.
Right.
So go big in those markets too if you want. But yeah, I'm gonna end it on
that. That's really interesting. I've seen that a lot, especially from advanced investors looking for multi-units across the country, and then they're using the comps of the 1 and 2 bedrooms to see what they can do, and then because they're having all these units. So that's a new strategy, and I think we're going to see more and more people doing that. So awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about, because I mean we unpacked a lot, but there's still so much more to really understand about BRRRRing with STRs. So what do you teach any courses? Do you have any other information? Are there any, like, what do you have that people can learn from you and kind of take on to get more of this information?
Yeah. So I don't have a mastermind or anything like that. I'm in the building stages. Like, I'm trying to build my portfolio, but I do help a ton of people that message me all the time. I have a consulting call thing that people hop on one call and get a good amount of value. And I see a lot of people that I consider mentees, people that reach out and actually take action. When you reach out to me and you take action, I just help you free of charge. I mean, I just want to see some kind of skin in the game. If somebody's taking action, I help them, and really just message me, text me. Anybody can DM me, ask me questions, add me on Instagram. I think that's the best way to reach me is Instagram. I post what I'm doing, and I teach along the way as well. So Patryk_Swietek, as you can see in my name down here.
Yeah, nailed it.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the first thing. Second thing, join STR Nation, the Facebook group. And we are so hands-on to teach people Oh, wow. That's so cool.
I just,
Yeah.
yeah, sorry, I like had it. Yeah.
That is cool.
There you
But
go.
yeah, there. But
STR
anyway,
Nation. So
STR dash niche. So yeah, so go
tell
on.
me, I'm gonna lead into this one. So STR Nation, just so everybody knows, is hosting a conference next month. So Patryk, give me, just for the sake of time, give me a 2-minute rundown of the conference and the speakers because I think it's going to be really big. So go ahead.
Yeah. So conference is going to be pretty much if you go to that link, you'll see the tickets. It's on sale. It's happening October 14th to 16th for VIP, October 15th to 16th for regular admission. It's going to feature the whole width of different skill sets, right? It's gonna list from finding your market with Kenny to, Kenny's gonna be speaking on stage to scaling with or finding like how much profitability they can make with different people like Airbnb automated Sean and Haley and a bunch of people. Oh yeah, if you can pull it up. And
I'm gonna
tax
pull up
strategies with Ryan Bakke. I think he's in this call right now. Just a whole list of people and hotels with Dia. There is just going to be such a great width of speakers. But I think the big thing here that I'm going to do that is unlike any other conference, and I was speaking to Bill Faith about this. The one thing Bill Faith wished that his conference did that a lot of people mentioned was networking. We're going to focus on networking. We're going to have breakout sessions. We're going to have with your skill set. You're going to be around people that are in the same boat as you. All right, game plan. Where are we going next? Actionable insights, things that you're really going to need to know to take the next step and not just, have accountability, right? Like make sure that you actually get something done and not just listen to information. You forget what I think there was like the statistic, you forget like 80% of it by day 2 or something. I don't remember this, but you forget a lot of it. You don't really get all that, but you don't forget the friendships that you make. Shout out to Matt. That's a friendship that I made, and I'm so happy about that because now he's got amazing contractors in that Michigan area that he's happy to refer me out. And it's like I wouldn't have that value if it wasn't going to this conference, So that is where really the value is going to be. We're gonna have breakout sessions. It's going to be amazing. Just come. It's going to be worth your time, and it's Vegas. Who doesn't want to go to Vegas? It's going to be a great time. That's all I have to say.
So that's. I do want to hit on something on that. So you guys are focusing on networking. I really like that. Kelvin's also gonna. I know you mentioned him, but he's from RankBreeze, and if you aren't familiar with RankBreeze, it's ranking optimization tool that allows you to know where you rank in the algorithms for each of the OTAs. And that's influential. Obviously, Ryan, the CPA, Sean, if you're into rental arbitrage. I don't personally know Dia, but I've heard great things about her and also Haley too. And so there's gonna be a lot of value. But Patryk, I think so for me, I go to conferences, conferences I don't speak at or I don't sponsor, just as like an attendee. When you say networking, I get a little bit I get some anxiety in terms of hundreds of people there. So tell me about the intimate space this will be in. Tell me more about, because I know I have a general idea of how many people are going to be there, but tell me more about that and why this is going to be a great networking activity for, attendees that might be better than some of these way, huge, conferences that are thousands of people.
Yeah. Well, the cool thing here is we're going to have 100 to 150 people. It's going to be a small space, maybe more, but it's going to be a small set of people. It's really not going to be that much. It's going to be more of an intimate space, especially when you get into the breakout sessions. It's going to be way smaller groups, and you're really going to get to know a couple people really well. And there's going to be some teasers. We are going to be pushing you a little bit. I mean, but the thing is, it's not going to be, it's going to be maybe awkward in the beginning, but these are the things you need to do at these conferences to really get the value out of it. You can't just go and listen. I mean, I remember going to my first conference. I look like an extrovert, but I wasn't always like this, and I remember sitting down and being so nervous and stiff and all this anxiety. And I just didn't know what was going on. It was too much. And so we know that's the thing. And we know there's people out there. So we're going to push those people a little bit just to get a little bit out of their comfort zone, but through forced a little bit like forced networking, but hey, turn the person to the right of you, say hi, like we're gonna initiate that. And you're gonna get out of your bubble, and you're gonna have to talk to people. But guess what? Once you kind of get it flowing, it's gonna be, by the end of it, you're gonna have amazing friendships. You're gonna have people that you can, pretty much text, at least get like 1 or 2 people that you can text and you get a lot of value from. You can bounce ideas off of. That's really the community aspect. That's what we're going for.
Yeah, I love that a lot, because a lot of us were naturally, just like, okay, I'm here. I don't really know what to do. And we need that little push because it is all about, who and getting that knowledge. Because a lot of us go to conferences to, we have questions in the back of our mind. And usually it stems from this fear of not knowing or not having the experience to do something. Like, how do I remote host, or, how do I jump into STRs to even start with? And so I think that I really like that approach, and I'm super excited for this conference. I'm excited to be a part of it, up on the stage speaking. And I just want to conclude everything here and say, I hope you guys, take a look at it. Go check out str-nation.com. And thank you again, Patryk, for being on this.
Of course.
I think it's been super valuable, and I look forward to talking to you more about BRRRRs in the future. So thanks, man.
I got you on that lender.
Yeah. Actually, I was gonna message you right after me, like, all right, I got a problem for you, but anyway, cool.
Well, so, anybody that wants the lender connections, actually, should I get a referral? Nah, I don't care about the referral. Kiavi, Kiavi. Kiavi, that's it.
I think I've heard of them. Okay, all right, yeah.
But you need experience to be able to get those rates. Just FYI. Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's good to know. Well, thank you so much, Patryk. And if anyone listening or watching the recording has any questions for me or Patryk, feel free to reach out to us. And yeah, thanks everybody. Have a good rest of your day.
Awesome.
See ya.